Welcome to Weekend One. My name is Masakho Ratlacha. Weekend One is where we give you a snapshot of some of the most important news of the week. Here we showcase the top stories and the best interviews from the past 7 days on eNCA. One of the top stories that featured on our bulletins this week is, of course, the gripping trial of the 5 men accused of murdering Senza Maywa, which unfolded in the High Court in Pretoria. eNCA's Lindelo Masigani was there to keep us abreast of this developing story.
Yet another delay in the trial of 5 men accused of the death of Senza Maywa. This time, the defense raised concerns around the presence of 1010 Films, the production house that has been commissioned to produce a documentary about the death of Maywa for Netflix.
My potential witnesses of the accused 1 to 4, they complain that we have been exposed to the harassment, to the intimidation. It's a common cause that this court knows that we have been harassed, starting with me as a counsel of 1 to 4, my attorney, and all those interested parties in our case for accused 1 to 4. We got intimidation, we got the threats. We are not saying Netflix or the 1010 film production intimidating our witness. You see, they are exposing our witness to intimidation, to serious threats to their lives. So where is he coming from? Say that if his company, his client is intimidating our witnesses, we must go to police station. That is madness. So what we simply and shortly say, 1010 Film is a production. It's not a media house. It's a production house for the films. They are for money.
But the lawyer for 1010 Films says his clients made an application which was granted.
Well, firstly, all of the mainstream media who are attending these proceedings and who record all criminal proceedings or civil proceedings in the country are business ventures. There is no non-profit company present in court today. The SABC, eNCA, Newsroom Africa, these are all business ventures. They derive revenue, otherwise they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be sustainable. So we don't understand why one is being singled out and not the others. The other issue is that documentary makers are members of the media.
Judge Maumela says until a formal application is made, he cannot kick any media house out of the court that applied for access.
My final ruling around is that the court is not ordering anybody out that applied to participate in this trial, especially those who applied on the basis that they form part and parcel of what is considered to be media houses.
Cross-examination of Sergeant Thabo Mosia, a forensic investigator and the state's first witness who collected evidence on the night of Maywa's death, finally continued. The defense once more raised the issue of the crime scene being contaminated. They've handed in another affidavit Mosia wrote pertaining to a case of defeating the ends of justice in relation to Maywa's death.
Now, communities across Durban are still dealing with the after effects of the floods. Many are still without basic services. The community of Tongaat in particular has been without water since the deadly floods in April. They took to the streets this week in protest. eNCA's Lethiwe Mdluli has been tracking this story.
50 days without water. That's how long some of these residents in Tongaat have been without clean running water. They have taken their frustrations out on the streets, blocking the main entrance in Tongaat in hopes that their cries will be heard. The ongoing water issues in the area started during the floods back in April after the water plant that supplies the area was completely destroyed. But residents say there's been no communication from officials and they haven't been provided with water tankers.
We don't have set times which the mayor has promised us for water to come. We're supposed to have gotten 2 tanks per day. We're just getting 1 tank per day. Sometimes the tank has to come 2-3 times, which is also very difficult because people cannot function in a normal manner without basic need of water.
Residents are also accusing the municipality of prioritizing certain areas and neglecting them.
So you kept quiet because I don't need to make a noise. Oh, but you never had to address anyone.
During the protest, tensions ran high after the ward councillor Jeff Pullen arrived to address the crowd. They have accused him of neglecting them. Pullen says that there's many areas who are like this one that are without water.
I have suggested that we link from these other places and feed back into the centre of Tongaat, and that is not happening, and I think that's what we should be doing. But unfortunately, I don't have the power to order that.
The last time the Deputy Mayor of eThekwini visited this area, he said it was going to take at least 5 months to get the Tongaat water plant going again. Letu Mdluli, Tongaat, Durban.
Now, this week saw another fuel price hike, and motorists are now paying more for fuel than ever before. Bulele Chwiti Jones was on the ground on Tuesday as irate motorists filled up their tanks.
It's very important that we hear how they feel, rather by this burden that's been imposed by government. They feel as though it's a lot. They feel as though also the cost of living has become quite pricey. And most importantly, what's the next step of direction for them?
Just now we have to pay more. Transport is going up. Everything is going up.
Do you think more could have been done by government to try and decrease this amount?
Please, man, please, if maybe, please.
You think they can do better?
Better, but this to run something is too much. Because a liter, 45 liter petrol, to run 43 cents is too much.
So when are you pouring a full tank, or what's happening now?
Yeah, I'm here to fill the full tank.
We are heavily affected by all other factors, including now this petrol price increase.
So I'm assuming you're going to be pouring a full tank right now?
If I could pour more, I would definitely do so.
The fuel price increase will have a knock-on effect on the cost of living. Cape Town residents are already resorting to extreme measures to stay afloat amid an unstable economy. Monique Mortlock compiled this report.
Hines Park resident Ashrik Peri says it's a daily hustle to put food on the table for his family. Luckily, the corner shops cater for his pocket. Here you can buy wheat peaks at R1 each and little packets of sugar and coffee at R1 each as well. Peri, who's currently unemployed, says the child grants they rely on for their 4 children are simply not enough.
Sometimes then we need to decide if we're going to buy a bread or we're going to buy diapers. And that is really something that we both need, but then we need to just buy 2 kimbis so we can just have some funds left to buy bread and buy some matura and bologna at the shop.
Terzel Rasmus from Strand says her household's combined income of 40,000 rand barely makes it to the end of the month. Rasmus, along with many households across South Africa, has learned how to make it to payday by implementing cost-saving methods like stretching meals over a few days.
We end up having to middle of the month, maybe even the week before, having to use our credit cards to just, spend on buying the basics again that we ran out, like sugar, milk, eggs. And now instead of buying bread, I'm making bread,
Cape Town ratepayers can expect their rates to increase by 5.2% and tariffs also by 5% from July. Monique Mortlock, Cape Town.
Stay tuned to Weekend One. Coming up, we will be featuring some of the big interviews conducted by our anchors on eNCA this week.